Are you ready for art? Let's go! Today we're going to talk about texture. There's two kinds of texture. There's actual texture. So when I touch this, I can feel it's a little bit bumpy. So that's some real, actual texture on that. And the other kind of texture is implied texture. So implied texture, one way to do it is if I take a piece of paper and I put it on top of this texture plate, and then I'm going to take an oil pastel. I'm going to use the side of the oil pastel and just rub like this. And we can see the texture, but when we touch it, it's really very smooth. Okay, so this is real texture, and this is implied texture, which we use a lot in art. Now, I have these texture plates in the art room, and you probably don't have these at home, but there's lots of other things that you can use to get some implied texture. And you probably have things around the house. So you might have one of these in the kitchen, colander, and you could use that, and then you can looks pretty good. So there's a implied texture from the texture of the colander. So that's something you could do. You might have something like this here. If I can feel some texture on it, it'll probably work. So let's use the same piece of paper. Put that on there. I'm going to use an oil pastel. Make sure it doesn't move or slide. The paper doesn't move, and you'll get a better result. But there's a pretty good texture there. There's lots of different things that you could use. So just look around the house. I'm going to look around the art room, and I'm going to see if I can find any other things that I can use to make some implied texture. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I went around the art room and found some texture and rubbed my oil pastel. Now, if you don't have an oil pastel, you can use other things. You could just use a pencil. That'll work. You could use a colored pencil. And if you're using a colored pencil or a pencil, you want to use the side of the pencil. So you don't want to go like this. Don't go like this. You want to go on the side. So if you don't have oil pastels, no problem. Use colored pencils and try different things. Maybe there's something else. Crayons. Crayons work too. Oil pastels, crayons, colored pencils, all of those will work for the texture. Okay, so now I've got a lot of these different textures. And the next thing we're going to do is take some scissors and we're going to just cut out the textures in some interesting shapes. Okay, so I've cut out my shapes with the implied texture. Looks pretty good. I've got some big ones, I've got some small ones. This one looks like a dragon's egg. This one looks like snake skin. I don't know, you can use your imagination. So I've got a lot of these shapes. So the next step is I'm going to take another piece of paper. Okay, this is going to be my background. And I'm just going to arrange the shapes on the paper in an interesting way. Now I'm going to start with the big ones. So start with your bigger shapes. Put that underneath. And then you can put your smaller ones on the top. Maybe that one goes that way. This one. Yeah. Like that. This. Okay. All right. And once I'm happy with that, I might want to change it a little bit. Then I'm going to use glue stick. If you have glue in your house, any kind of glue will do. And then you're going to glue these down onto the paper. Now, if you don't have glue in your house, you can just put them on, and then you can take a picture of your artwork. Just take a photograph. And then what you're going to do is take that photograph and you're going to submit it to Google Classroom when you're all finished. Okay, and I'm going to see your texture artwork. Okay, so I'm going to glue this down now. All right, so here is my finished artwork. You can turn it around, look at it in different positions. See which way looks best. That looks pretty good. Now you notice that I've cut the edge, so you could just take the scissors and just kind of cut if you have some pieces that are coming off of the side, just to kind of make it look a little bit cleaner. The next thing you can do is you can add color with colored pencils. If you see something that reminds you of something, maybe this looks like an alien planet. Maybe you want to add some aliens to it. I don't know. What do you see? If you can see something in it, maybe it looks like a musical instrument. You could add that. Whatever you want to add to it, go ahead and use your imagination. If you have watercolor at home, of course you can add some watercolor. If you're using the oil pastel, the watercolor and the oil pastel will resist each other, and so the oil pastel color will still show through and the watercolor will be kind of in the background. So this is our texture project. Our word today was implied texture. So it looks like it has texture, but when you touch it, it's actually flat. And that's an interesting technique, because when people look at your art, they really want to touch it. They want to touch it, and if you're an artist, that's good. You want people to want to touch your artwork. Don't touch it too much, though. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll see you next week, and we'll have another activity then. Bye.